Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're cracking open a truly fascinating source document. It's basically a fundamental life manual designed to build ultimate emotional resilience and strength. People often refer to it as the Human Rulebook. Honestly, if you've ever felt like life somehow forgot to give you an instruction manual for the really hard parts of the human experience, well, you're in the right place. This explainer is definitely for you. Let's dive right in and distill its core wisdom.
A human must conquer their own mind before the world, because the outside war begins inside. Just let that sink in for a second, right? That's not just some catchy phrase you'd see on a bumper sticker. It's literally the ultimate premise of everything we're about to cover. Think about it. Every single external battle you face, whether that's a super difficult conversation at work, crushing financial stress, or relationship friction, it's actually won or lost in your own mind first.
So, to really understand how to win that external war, our source text divides its wisdom into clear, actionable stages. We're starting with Section 1, the war within, internal battles.
Which brings us right to Section 2, managing emotions, precise control.
Okay, let's really dive into this major focus. Before you can handle other people, you absolutely have to know how to handle the intense, internal waves of anger, fear, and sorrow that hit all of us. And the rulebook, well, it kicks things off with perhaps the most volatile emotion of the bunch, anger. The directive here is crystal clear. Do not make immediate decisions when you're angry. Why? Because words are weapons. When you're absolutely furious, your words inflict permanent damage. The text explicitly tells us we must always consider the consequences before lashing out or making a choice. I mean, you can't unfire a weapon, and you certainly can't unsay a word spoken in a total rage.
Now, this next part completely flips a common assumption on its head. So often, we think that if we just stay quiet during an argument, we're losing. We kind of think whoever shouts the loudest is the one winning. But according to the text, no way. Silence is not a sign of defeat. Actually, it's a powerful tactical move. It's the ultimate form of emotional control. By actively choosing silence, you maintain control over yourself, flat out refusing to let a chaotic situation dictate your actions.
Shifting gears over to the emotion of fear, the text sets up this really stark contrast, ignorance versus knowledge. The rule here is that you should never run from your fear. Actually, strike that. You need to turn around and fully understand its root cause. Ignorance acts like throwing gasoline on a fire. It just increases fear. But knowledge extinguishes it completely. So the big takeaway is this. The next time a massive crisis hits, don't panic. Just observe. Because understanding the mechanics of a crisis is the exact thing that kills the terror.
And finally, we reach sorrow. When we're deep in sadness, it feels totally permanent, right? But the rulebook gently reminds us it isn't. And more importantly, it gives us a roadmap for handling the inevitable loneliness that comes with it. Time spent in solitude shouldn't be used for beating yourself up. Instead, use that quiet time to really understand yourself. You have to allow the pain to do its work, because, as tough as it sounds, it's pain that builds depth. It literally makes you a more profound human being. Okay, so now that we've disciplined our minds, we're going to pivot to dealing with massive external shifts. Let's look at Section 3, Success and Failure, Handling Power.
Look, we all want success, but the text offers a pretty stark warning about what actually happens when you finally get it. Do not let your ego inflate. The rule here is that today's success is simply the beginning of tomorrow's test. It's so easy to win once and get arrogant about it, but the person who remains humble, that's the one who actually survives and succeeds over the long haul. Make no mistake, humility outlasts ego every single time.
But what about when things go wrong? I absolutely love how the source breaks down the rule of failure into the super actionable 3-step procedure. When you fail, do not underestimate yourself. Failure isn't the end. It's really just an opportunity to change direction. So step 1, do not hide your mistakes. Acknowledge them. Step 2, learn from them. And step 3, create a concrete rule for the future based on that mistake. Notice how incredibly clinical and productive this is? It completely rips the self-pity right out of failure.
And when you inevitably do succeed and gain some authority, you're going to face the rule of power. This part is absolutely vital. Power is a tool for protection, not a weapon for control. The text stresses that true strength comes tied directly to profound responsibility. Its sole purpose is to shield others, not to dominate them. So you always have to ask yourself, are you using your authority to build a wall to protect people, or are you using it to wield a sword? If you're using power just to control people, you've completely misunderstood what strength actually is.
So, how do we apply all of this to the daily grind? That brings us to Section 4, Practical World, Everyday Society. All right, here are the rapid-fire, punchy rules for everyday survival straight from the text. First up, dealing with people. Don't trust everyone blindly, but hey, don't hate everyone either. Always remember that actions speak way louder than words, and crucially, if you're somewhere you aren't respected, don't stick around, just leave. Then there's the rule of money. Look at how society treats it. But remember, money is just a tool, not your entire identity. The text warns that the exact moment your desire to show off exceeds your actual needs, well, that's when your slavery begins. Treat wealth as a resource, prioritize saving, and above all, stay patient.
When you're navigating society, you also have to navigate a total sea of information. The rule of knowledge tells us not to blindly accept whatever we hear. Question everything, because the person who asks questions is the one who learns the most. But there's a big catch here. Without actual lived experience, your knowledge is always going to remain incomplete. You literally have to get out there and test what you know in the real world.
Which perfectly transitions us to the ultimate teacher in the practical world, time. The text compares two paths here, a late but right decision versus a hurried and wrong decision. In our crazy, fast-paced society, we always feel this intense pressure to act instantly, but this rule emphasizes that time is our greatest educator. It is always better to wait, gather your knowledge, and be absolutely right than to rush in totally blind and be disastrously wrong. And that brings the entire explainer to its climax. Here we go with Section 5, Self-Realization, Ultimate Victory.
This right here is the ultimate rule for yourself. Never let your core values change, even when your circumstances do. Seriously, whether you're facing immense, skyrocketing success or crushing, rock-bottom failure, whether you're in total solitude or surrounded by a massive crowd of people, your core values must remain locked firmly in place. The text loops back and reiterates our opening thought right here. A person who cannot control their own mind cannot possibly win anything out there in the outside world.
So, looking at everything we've unpacked today, the discipline over our anger, decoding our fear, finding humility in success, and trusting the wisdom of time, what do you think is the absolute greatest mastery a human being can possibly achieve?
It all boils down to this. Understanding oneself is the ultimate victory. You have the toolkit now. You've got the rulebook. But remember, knowledge without action is just trivia. So the next time the world tries to drag you into a war, will you have the discipline to conquer the battlefield of your own mind first? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Get out there and start building your rulebook today.